What makes a good fan game? Is it the gameplay? Is it the relation to the source material? Is it the feeling you get when you need to scratch that itch that a certain game gave you? The last one sounds odd, but today we are going to discuss a FNAF fan game that rocked the FNAF fan game scene for all the wrong reasons. I'm Gilly Green, and today we are discussing Dormitibas. As a warning to all the viewers watching, if you are at risk of being triggered or upset by mentions of incredibly touchy subjects such as PDF files and non-consensual intercourse and also grooming, then you might want to avoid watching this video since we will be covering these topics. You have been warned. So let's talk! What exactly is Dormitibas? Well, Dormitibas was a FNAF fan game developed and released between the years 2016 and 2018, where a free roam version was created between 2015 and 2016. This game had quite a large reception, gaining attention from members of the FNAF and horror gameplay communities on release, with Markiplier and Dorco being the most notable examples. The game was widely criticised for its models and designs, gameplay and bugs and story and voice acting, and I could definitely see why when we look at the cast of characters. Havoc Freddy, Chica, and Foxy look like if Mangle just got its head replaced and had hemorrhoids. Havoc Puppet looks like something spicy anime enthusiasts would go to. Cake Bear is just purple gay stuck inside of Freddy instead, with a cupcake. Golden Call is really the only decent looking one, being Golden Freddy with a goopy phone stuck to his head. The BOA, what a name, is just Mangle with more heads and limbs while being even more confusing. Soul Cage could have been cool if Mr. Krabs didn't take a visit here. Molten Evil is just RWQFSFASXC if he was an emo. That is such a tongue twister. And finally, Garvey is just Springtrap if he went a lot more into his persona. That is a wonderful cast. And I know what you're thinking. How could this get any worse? Well, let me tell you, my friend, because it gets so much worse. Let's talk about the actual gameplay of this game, where if you was thinking that the gameplay would have been even mildly better than the mess we've already witnessed so far, you'd have better luck discovering the actual lore behind FNAF without having an aneurysm. Let's go for Havoc Freddy first, the main attraction of the regular cast from the original Five Nights at Freddy's. From night 1, Havoc Freddy will move towards the office window, and then will move over to the left door. Once he progresses through the cameras, he will appear at the window behind the player, ready to attack. To avoid this, you will have to run and crawl under the table to the other side of the room. Yeah, you have to crawl beneath a table to avoid a sentient animatronic that looks like one of Sid's creations from Toy Story. This is going to become a running theme. But what about Havoc Chica? Surely there is something interesting to do with this character, or some interesting way to avoid her, right? Well, once again, Chica will appear at the right door in the office after going through certain cameras, and then you run across the room under the table again! Then you stare at her until she leaves. But hey, at least when she leaves, you gotta rush back to the other side of the room before getting attacked by her cupcake. Yep, this is life now. Welcome to hell. So far, we've run under the table, and run under the table, then run under the table again. What more could you want from your games? I love tables, and I love watching paint dry. But what about Havoc Foxy? Well, I'm glad you asked, because lo and behold, you have to run across the room again. But there is a bit more of a twist when it comes to Foxy, where instead of avoiding looking at him too much, we now have 3 phases. He will hide, then he'll peek out all cutesy-like, then he'll come storming in like a hurricane, ready to rip you to shreds. To make sure you don't die, you will need to find a password out of a list of passwords to get rid of a Trojan voicemail sent by Golden Call, where you run to the other side of the room and look at him. This is some riveting stuff, people. But come on, surely Mr. Tentacles over here can provide us with another thrilling table-crawling experience, right? Wait, what's this? News just in, we are not crawling under a table this time around. Instead, we watch. Attentively. Yep, remember when I talked about watching paint dry? Well, now you can, because This guy is very dull. So replace the paint with a tentacle monster that just gives you a warm embrace and you have Havoc Puppet. Now, I called him Cake Bear, but his real name is Am I Real? Real imaginative there, guys. That one is par for the course with the rest of this game so far. He will continually appear within a withered form throughout the cameras, and to prevent him from entering the office, you stare. Attentively. Well, he can just be ignored for a bit so you can deal with the others, and he'll pretty much tell you where he is, so you can just sort out the table crawling activities until eventually you could just stare at him attentively into his loving eyes. Something I do find cool about this character is if you die to him, you can unlock a new night by clicking on his nose a lot. So the minigame sucks, but the idea is at least there. I could talk about that night, but if I did, it would literally just be me telling you about Am I Real, moving around into different rooms, and that's it. So we'll skip that one. Okay, come on. What about the animatronic that I praised? The only one that I praised the design of, Golden Call. Well, his only real purpose is to be the wingman for Havoc Foxy, causing a Trojan mail on your PC when Havoc Foxy's on his way. On a rare occasion, he will appear on your desk in the form of a original Golden Freddy from the original FNAF games, which will then cause the game to crash. Fantastic. I love it when my game crashes because an in-game feature just happens. If you type the wrong password or don't type a password at all, then you will be jump scared by Golden Call while crawling under that damn fucking table again. Or he'll appear in the left door and get you. So he's going to prevent you from doing the one activity that you do throughout most of this game, bar staring at shit that is going to kill you. Fun! Let's now talk about Mangle on Drugs. BOA will be in a box and will emerge from it, where it will go through the cameras and then... Wait. No. That fucking table again. Why is everything to do with this table? Surely the poor player's knees are shredded to the bone by now. The BOA will talk to you in a distorted voice and will ask you where you are going when you move. Once you get to the other side of the table and look left, the BOA will move each of its heads and then will finally leave. And thank the Lord, this is one of the least active animatronics bar Garvey, so Borefest over there isn't a major threat to your overall sanity. Oh, we're almost there. Oh god. Why is this even here? It could have been such a cool design if you didn't give it crab legs. Now, all I can see when I look at this is Mr. Krabs. Well, let's see. What is this one possibly going to do? Well, Soul Cage, with his mess of parts, will just move around the cameras, gathering up heads as it moves. So it goes and collects all these heads. Once it finds them, it will head into the office, from the right, crawl onto the ceiling, and... Wait. How in the fuck is this group of heads on pincer legs supposed to be able to climb onto the ceiling of all things? It is 90% body and head with nubs for legs. That's like asking somebody without arms to give a handshake, and somehow he finds the magic within him and casts Mage Hand for the shake. Well, it'll appear, and if you look at it in the doorway, it'll jump scare you with no consequences, so that's fine, I guess. But the way you get rid of him is when he's on the ceiling, you look at him. Attentive. Okay, no. We've done that joke too many times now. Let's stop doing that one. Why is there so much staring at these animatronics? Like, come on. I know they are weird looking, but surely some of them have feelings. No, I take that back. The only feelings in this game are the ones that the dev had when he was making the tapes at the end. Not saying that the rest of the devs didn't put in some passion into this, but come on. There is more life in King Henry VIII than there is in this game. And he died hundreds of years ago. How about Molten Evil? Surely there is something interesting about this one. I'm so done with this game now. To stop this emo rabbit, all you need to do is wait for an animation on the screen of your computer, and then you play dead by looking up at the sky. Well, now I don't know whether I am disappointed or depressed at this stage. Probably both. Okay, let's move on to the main attraction, the main part of the show, the animatronic that this game is based around. Garvey? Okay, let's talk about this one. What kind of shit for brain's parent calls their kid Garvey? Is that just some sort of cruel joke to play on dyslexic people who can't tell whether that says Harvey or Gary? Let's just call whatever this is by Havoc Springtrap, because I would rather not mention his alias until the end of this section. Garvey only appears in nights 10 and 11, being the main boss of the game. You have to listen out for his laughter, either being on the right, left, or centre, or I guess right and left. If he is on the right or left and is in the vents, you will need to click on the vents to slow him down, then you... For fuck's sake, why are we crawling again? Just let my poor knees have a rest, please! We run to the other side of the room and stare at him until he leaves. Also, if that noise is on the right or left, he could be in the doorways, where, you guessed it, we run to the other side of the room and stare at the correct door that he is at. Fun! Really fun! Love this mechanic! I love crawling on the floor. If the sound comes from the centre, or as I said earlier, the left and the right, you need to look at the ceiling and stare at him until he leaves. Guess what? Whilst this bastard is active, you have to stare at him to stop your sweet electrical juice from draining and the room from darkening, all while he's on the cameras. That is such fun. Love it. So there is your gameplay, if I can even call it that. There is so little to this game, it is making me both bored and depressed even typing this out as a script. The gameplay consists of running under the table, staring, running under the table, and staring some more. Then, maybe you can type something. Oh, never mind, we're going under the table again. This isn't the reason why this game is so disliked though, because we could talk all about how bad the designs are, how bad the gameplay is, how bad the voice acting is, but what we need to talk about is the controversy surrounding this game, causing it to become one of the most infamous FNAF games to ever be made. This is where things get messy, people, so like I said before, if you don't like this kind of stuff, cover your ears and run for cover, because this is going to get messy. One of the main developers for the original Dormitibas games goes by the tag Blackout 1912, or is also known by Nietzsche. So, I won't be revealing any personal details about this guy, and with this, I also ask that nobody send hate towards any of the developers of the original project, or to Nietzsche himself. I know that this stuff is deplorable and completely indefensible, but as the video creator, I can't promote that kind of thing, and I don't condone it myself anyways in most cases. Now, this user was the one who put out the game and was heavily involved with the creation of it, being partial director, designer, story writer, all that kind of stuff. He took a large part in this game. And that also means that he got hold over the creative direction of the game. This leads to a series of tapes being added into the game, which can only be described as the worst Joker impression you have ever heard. This may sound like a joke or a gag, but it really isn't. The tapes are cringeworthy and disturbing, with the main tape that caused the largest controversy being a tape that described the unaliving of a girl who would be stuffed into Chica. The tape is genuinely disturbing, with Garvey recording the diary of his day, describing how the 15-year-old girl who was stuffed inside of Chica was hot, and also describing how he had unconsensual activities with her. I don't even like reading this. This is genuinely disgusting shit, and it's deplorable. I am so glad that I haven't played this game, and I don't want to go near it with a 10-foot pole, considering this stuff is just even near the game. The tape is just awful. And also, sorry for not being able to say the word outright. It annoys me too how I have to censor myself from saying the more harsher words when talking about such a heavy topic. Another developer who was working alongside Blackout, who I will not be naming, released a video exposing Blackout for his different fetishes, behavioural issues with being homophobic, transphobic, and general other subjects attributed with your common degenerate, but the most concerning parts are where he was exposed for being a necrophiliac, which is somebody who fantasizes about bodies, as well as having unconsensual fantasies, which directly align with the tapes that we see in-game. It was also revealed that there was explicit messages sent to a young minor, along with an image being sent of the guy's bare ass. This is disgusting even talking about it, and I believe that it is such an important topic considering the whole Roblox situation. To lighten the mood a little, considering that the previous segment was very heavy, even on myself, I thought that we could read through one of my favourite Reddit comments that I saw talking about this game. And here we have, yes, the game where Purple Guy got possessed by the creator of the game and became Guy and went into purgatory that looks like it was made with Roblox textures to be tortured by high on every drug while drunk fever dream monstrosities consisting of Springtrap's less successful brother, a fucking onion who at first glance you wouldn't even be able to identify as a version of the puppet, Wish.com Springtrap, Bird, God, Why, and Mangle on steroids, all while being talked to by a dumbass phone guy who gets all depressed and fucking crucifies himself, or some shit where you want him to shut up, while also being able to listen to guy's post-recording where he sounds like he's doing his worst Joker impression. And underneath it, take my fucking upvote, this was beautiful. Now, yeah, I completely agree with that. It pretty much sums up this entire video into such a small little section, and it is completely true. The biggest part of this game that caused the controversy is this one section where it was just one of the most deplorable things I think I've ever heard from something from FNAF. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's is plagued. The community is plagued with kids, and then somebody releases some shit like this that just takes the whole meaning of it. FNAF takes very careful consideration on how the children in their game dies, and also do it in such a tame way that it doesn't become some sort of deplorable act. I mean, obviously it is a deplorable act within the games, but making the games and adding in the fact that kids are dying and this is what's happening with them and they possess these animatronics, it's not deplorable to make that. But then we have this fucking asshole who goes and takes such a tame subject and makes it so incredibly controversial. And that's not me saying that you can't have these types of topics in a game, but what makes it even worse is the fact that this guy himself was into this stuff. So he's putting his own fetishes into the game. It just does not make for a good game. And half the time, like, let's talk about Outlast. Outlast 2 has hints at the potential that there was some sort of unconsensual activities going on. And once again, I'm sorry, I can't say the proper words, but there's hints at it. And you can definitely tell that there has definitely been some stuff going on in terms of that sense. But at the same time, you'd expect that from Outlast, because the first Outlast game has two twin brothers who are in an insane asylum wearing no clothes, walking around with their dicks out. Like, what are you gonna expect? And they took it to a whole nother level with the second one, where it was just even more fucking mental. But we can see that that game is able to use that because it's not made based on a other game that has a huge child audience. Let's just go on to a bit of a lighter note, where the original devs, bar the one that we've obviously talked about in this, they've decided to make a remaster of the game, which I think is a very honourable thing to do, considering the fact that they really wanted their game to be fun. They wanted their game to be something to remember, a piece of history in terms of the FNAF fangame community. And unfortunately, their game did become a piece of history, but for all of the wrong reasons. And from what I've read, the story is much better, the game is much better, and it has none of the PDF file shit in it, so it's overall a huge positive. And yeah, like I was saying, it's such a shame to see that the other creators of this game were put into such a horrible situation and had to come out with such a big win at the end of the day is such a huge W for them. It's clear that they're passionate about the game and didn't want it to be stained with such a horrible background to it. So go and support the remaster. That is all from me. I need to bleach my eyes, brain, and ears after this one. Maybe give my mouth a cleanse with some holy water, since I think even the words I've spouted today could leave me rotting in the upper stages of hell. I thank you all for watching. I know this was probably a hard watch towards the end, so I hope that the parts before and after the gross section brightened the mood a little bit. I have tons of horror gameplay videos that I'd love to share with you, so please make sure to like, subscribe, and go and check out some more of my videos. Also, comment down below what games you want me to play or what other topics you'd like me to cover. One that I'm currently preparing for is a video going over bad parenting, which is similar, well, it's in a similar realm to this video. But I'm going to take a little break from the controversial games like this one and focus on some other controversial titles that were controversial for some lighter reasons. This has been your new favourite commentator, Gilly Green, and I will see you all in the next video, or in my next stream. In a bit, people. God, I need to go and have a fucking... Oh god, this was awful. Ugh.